Okay, I'm going to show you how you can start engineering better prompts using ChatGPT. So I've got ChatGPT open here in front of us to start with. Just really quickly before we dive in, I just wanted to cover a couple housekeeping things, which is you are going to need an account to use ChatGPT. So if you haven't set one up, make sure you set one up, otherwise you won't be able to access this. Just go to their website and sign up. It's absolutely free. You can get an account with using your Gmail address or really any email address that you have. It's really easy to do. So set an account up first. You're going to need access to that. And then I just really quickly, because we are using ChatGPT and we're using the free version, there are certain limitations to it. Just understand that you may sometimes get incorrect results. So just do a little bit of sanity checking yourself when you're using the software. You can always regenerate the results if need be and usually get the right answer the second time. So it's typically not a big deal, but just I've seen people fall in that hole where they do things, move too quickly, use the result from ChatGPT and find out it was wrong later. So just know it does have certain limitations. You'll see that listed right here, right? It's certainly a free software, and that does hamper its ability to do some things. And then the other thing you'll see as we kind of go through this and we get into some of the key topics or key principles to keep in mind when you're using this software is that ChatGPT can remember what is said earlier in a conversation, and that can make it a lot easier to use the software, which you'll see here in a second. So before we actually engineer a prompt together, I want to give you 3 core principles. These are guiding principles that will certainly help you regardless of your situation using ChatGPT. I mean, heck, these are not even important to spreadsheets. These are really important to anything you're doing with ChatGPT. So this is kind of a broad lesson for using the software, regardless of whether it's for spreadsheets or not, but obviously very important for spreadsheets as well. So there are 3 principles we're going to be talking about. The first one is clarity. Anytime you are using a chat engine like this, you need to have clarity with the instructions that you provide. You have to keep in mind that the AI chat assistant that you're working with does not have any of that clarity that you have in your head about the problem you're trying to solve. So you have to be very specific when you're asking for something from your AI chat assistant. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to give you the results that you are looking for. So you'll see here in a second when we actually engineer a prompt together, when you add specificity and you add some clarity to the way you're asking it, you will get a much better result. You can go from not getting a result that works at all to a result that's spot on and perfect, right? So just be very specific and concise with your instructions to add that level of clarity, which will allow you to write and get better results from your AI chat assistant. So that's the first point. And kind of along the same lines, point number 2 is going to be around context. So context is adding additional data into your prompt to give the AI chat assistant the ability to have that same context you do. And again, you'll see in a second here when we go through the example how this all works. So if it's not really making any sense as we're talking about it right now, just keep that in mind. I'm going to show you a hands-on example in just a minute so you can see what this looks like. But if you don't have context added to your prompt, ChatGPT is going to have no idea what you're trying to do, right? Again, think of it as a pure blank slate. It has no idea, no context, no clarity, nothing. It knows nothing about the project and the problem that you are trying to solve. So you have to give it all of that information that you have in your head so that it can then do the work you're asking for. So just, again, those are really the 2 most important points. And then number 3, we're going to talk about, which is examples. And examples is kind of why I highlighted earlier the fact that ChatGPT remembers historical conversations that you have had with it, because that's going to be a great way to take advantage of the ability to remember to build up a conversation over time related to a project that you might be working on, where ChatGPT will remember that clarity and context that you have given it throughout the entire experience. Right, so this is actually one of the things I think, as far as kind of a little tip or a little hack when you're working with ChatGPT that not a lot of people talk about. I like to create one conversation per project that I'm working on, or per specific problem that I'm trying to solve. And what that's allowed me to do is continue to build up all of that context. And then anytime I want to start a new problem or solve a new problem, solve a new project, whatever you're working on, I set up a new chat, which you can just do by clicking new chat right here, or starting a new chat from the main page like this, and then starting to build up the context and the clarity in that chat for that specific situation. So I've seen that help people quite a bit when they're using this, because if you're dumping it all in there, you're deleting your chats all the time, and you're starting from scratch, you're really losing out on a lot of the functionality that you get with the tool. So just keep that in mind. It can be a real lifesaver, especially as you work on more complex and bigger projects, to have that context and clarity available right within that same window and ask bigger questions and solve bigger problems. So those are the three things you're going to want to keep in mind conceptually when you're working with your AI chat assistant. And as promised, we are going to do a prompt together here. I'm going to use a very generic prompt, and I'm going to show you how you can engineer this to be a lot more concise and add some clarity and add some context and actually get the answer you were looking for right within ChatGPT. So let's start with a very basic question you might be asking of your data. Let's just say I'm looking for the sum. We'll just do sum of the sales column. Sum the sales column, right? So, and if I spell column right, that would be great. So sum the sales column. So we're just telling ChatGPT to sum the sales column. If we press enter on this, it's just going to tell you, but it doesn't, as it's telling you, it needs more information to proceed, right? So it doesn't know what the information is in there, so it's not going to have the ability to actually do this, right? So again, we got to add some more clarity and some more context. So I've actually already written out this prompt for us here, and I'm going to pull it up, and we're going to add it in here, and I'm going to explain to you why I put in what I did. Only reason I wrote this separately is you can see it has a lot of stuff in it, and I didn't want to waste your time watching me type it all in, right? So instead of just saying sum the sales column, we actually need to tell it what function we want to use, right? Which is the sum function. And then we need to tell it what those cells are that we want it to do this from. Now, I'll just remove the actual data here for a second, just to show you what would happen if you don't actually want to give it that additional context. Of course, I do recommend adding that context in there if you can. Of course, in this example, it's a very small set of data, so it's a little easier to type up. If you had hundreds or thousands of rows, it might be a little trickier. You might not want to put it all in there, but you can still get a formula that you can use as long as you give proper context to your chat assistant here. So let's just do this real quick. I'll press enter, and you'll see it's going to start telling you exactly how to do this, right? So it's going to tell you which function to use to get the result, right? So you'll put this in there, pick the cell you want to display the total sales, enter in the values, and be able to get the result, right? So it's just telling us that's going to be the formula for our specific question, right? But now let's add in just that little bit of context. So let's add in this, and it'll start to do the actual work for us, right? So it's using the same function, it's adding them all up, and it's telling us the total sales from this is 67, right? So, and that's correct based off the results. And so I'm giving it that additional context, and I'm getting the result, right? So we went from something as simple as sum the sales column to use the sum function to calculate the total sales from cells B2 to B10, which gave us this formula that we could use pretty easily right within our spreadsheet. And then we actually gave it the results, or those numbers. I said B2 equals 5, etc. And then it gave us the actual answer at the end right there. So again, this is a really basic and simple way to start engineering better results from your prompts. This goes a lot deeper, and there's a lot more you can learn when it comes to using an AI assistant for your spreadsheet work. If you want, we do have an AI course that I put together that will help you learn a lot of these same tips and tricks and really make full use of this to be as efficient as possible. Just click down below and get access to that right now, or stick around for more free content like this. I'm going to be sharing more tips and tricks related to how you can use this AI assistant to just make your spreadsheets more efficient, more powerful, and get more done solving bigger problems and solving the type of problems that get you promotions. So I will see you in the next one.